Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Trolleyheim with your host, Rabbi Anibal. Great to see that you're already active in the chat. I always like reading your messages, guys. So welcome Shelly, welcome Brenda, welcome Jerome, welcome Anastasia, and David so far. If there is anybody else, please say hello in the chat. And we are going to get ready to begin with the class fairly soon. And we're going to study a little bit about this week's Parsha. And then we're going to study a little bit about Shavuot as well, because Shavuot starts this Sunday. I hope you have been counting the Omer. And if you haven't, well, you always have next year. So this is that's the idea, right? You should never beat yourself. Brenda, coffee? No, not coffee today. Today is Diet Pepsi time because I have my coffee in the morning at home, of course. And then I took my wife's car to, they needed to replace a tire. So I have another coffee at the dealership. And I feel like if I have another coffee here in my office, it will be too much. I don't know. That's why I'm having this. Probably my favorite diet soda is Diet Pepsi caffeine free. If you haven't tried it, it's delicious. Delicious. And I don't know why. Usually diet soda upsets my stomach, but not this one. Has to be something, I don't know, maybe the combination of aspartame and caffeine. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I like this one. So no coffee today. Sorry, all of you coffee lovers. I understand your pain. But as I was saying, I hope you had an opportunity to count the Omer. And if on top of that you had an opportunity to have a little study every day attached to that counting of the Omer, even better. But if you haven't, there is always next year. Okay? It's something, it's meaningful. I like doing that. I've been counting the Omer every day and looking forward to Shavuot. Shavuot, again, Sunday night, and Sunday night we have the Tikkun. For those of you who are in Winnipeg, I hope you're going to come to the Tikkun in person. We have multiple classes. Welcome, Eric. Welcome to the class. So I was saying the Tikkun. If you are coming, great classes here in person. But if you cannot come, some of the classes are going to be streamed. Number one is going to be, I believe, Rabbi Benarosh, which is the keynote speaker. His lecture is going to be the only one at that time slot. So he's not competing with anybody. And then after that, we go into breakout rooms. So my class is going to be streamed. Because then I have to repeat my class. I may stream somebody else's class. I haven't coordinated that. The problem is we can only stream one class at a time. We have only one channel to do that. And also many of the people who are teaching for the Tikkun, they don't know how to navigate the technology. So we have two limitations, one on top of the other. So at least I will do all the best to stream my class. So if you cannot come in person, you will have a little bit of experience for the Tikkun. On top of that, I'm going to guess that there are going to be many synagogues around the world streaming their Tikkun. So you will also have the opportunity to study on Shavuot night. And this is something that hopefully we'll have time to study today, why we do that, right? Why we study Torah the first night of Shavuot. Remember, Shavuot in the diaspora outside of Israel is 2 days. So we have Shavuot Sunday night, Monday morning, Monday night, Tuesday morning. Okay, and lots of opportunity to come to shul and to engage with Shavuot. Okay, so welcome everyone again. Let's begin with the class because we have lots of material to cover today if I want to teach you about the Parsha and about Shavuot. So, let's begin with the Parsha. This week's Parsha is a brand new book. It's the book of Numbers. In Hebrew, it's called Bemidbar. Why is that? Well, in English, it's called Numbers because it contains the census of the Israelites. It's fascinating to know how many people and different ages. I know we became more sophisticated in this day and age with census. It's not just about ages and numbers, but we ask more questions to people. And it's a very powerful tool for governments to plan ahead, right? They need to know how many people they have in different categories, different stratas. So I've been always fascinated by census. I remember the first one that I was aware that a census was taking place. I was in Buenos Aires. I was in elementary school. And I remember there was a school day, there was no classes. We got to stay home to welcome the person doing the census, and we have to answer a few questions. And then after that, I remember they sticking a stamp in the door frame of our house, almost like a mezuzah, that they would put it there to mark that the censor came. Or is it called a censor? I don't know how it's called. The person who does the census. If you know it, please let me know in the chat. What is the name of the person going home to home, asking the question for the census? I don't know the name. So we'll put a stamp there, so they will no mistake that house was counted and we answered all the questions and everything. That was the very first time. And then census taker. Okay, Shelley, thank you. And then it was the waiting for the results of the census. Back in the day, no computers, it took forever. But then it was a supplement in the newspaper with all the results and statistics and things. And I remember reading that, and I was, wow, even though I didn't understand the thing. I can't remember how old I was. It was like an early elementary, and me trying to understand all the statistics and things, because I guess back then I wanted to know how many Jews were in Argentina. That's what I wanted. And then within, even there, it would say how many Ashkenazi, how many Sephardic, how many religious, non-religious. It was fascinating. And then I participated in other census, but not like the first one. So, talking about the first one, this is the first time that in the book of Numbers, that it will be like a very systematic way of counting the Jewish people. They need to know how many soldiers they have. They need to know how many Levites and priests and things. It was something fascinating. So, census taker. I will highlight it there in case somebody wants to know. That's how you call the person that goes from door to door. Okay? Thank you. Okay, let's go to the Parsha. We are at the very beginning of the book of Numbers. Oh, by the way, I said Numbers in English because of the census. In Hebrew, it's called Bemidbar, because Bemidbar is the first significant word of the first verse. That's the rule for naming the Bible books in Hebrew. The first significant word. So it says, Vaidaver Adonai el Moshe, which is very common. It's this formula, Vaidaver Adonai el Moshe, appears a lot in the Torah. So the next word is Bemidbar Sinai. That's why the book is called Bemidbar, which means in the desert. In the desert. Which desert? The Sinai desert. Okay, it goes like this. Hashem, remember, if you're new to this, Hashem is one of the names we use to refer to God. Hashem means the name, and sometimes we use it when we don't want to say the official names of God. We say Hashem. Hashem spoke to Moses in the Sinai desert, in the tent of the meeting, on the first day of the second month of the second year after they had left the land of Egypt. God said, take a census of the entire assembly of the people of Israel by clans and families. record the names of all the men 20 years old and over who are subject to military service in Israel. You and Aaron are to enumerate them according to their legions. So the Torah is also telling us why this census was so important. It was to know how many soldiers they had, because they had a bunch of wars ahead of them as they keep moving towards the promised land, and especially once they cross the Jordan and into the promised land. Welcome, Amparo. Welcome to the class. Okay, so uh, this is interesting for different reasons. Number one, and I want to point this out to you, is a perfect example of on how God was communicating with Moses. It says at the very beginning, in the tent of meeting, there was a place within the tabernacle, the sanctuary. It was almost like a like a room within the tabernacle, and it was exclusively for that context for Moses to talk to God, almost like a private phone booth where God will call Moses to go there. Moses will enter, and God will speak to Moses. Moses will write it down in the Torah, in parchment, and then at the end of Moses' life, that became what we know as the Torah. So this is very interesting. And also the Sinai, the Mount Sinai and the Sinai Desert became very important, because we know that that's specifically the geographical place where the Torah was revealed to the Jewish people. So it's both the Sinai Desert and the Mount Sinai, very important for the Jewish tradition. Okay, and when this happened, this meeting about when God requested the census, also the verses will say it. It says, on the first day of the second month of the second year after they have left the land of Egypt. So they already went through another to a Passover, and because remember the month of Pesach is month number 1 in the Torah. So he said, in the first day of the second month. So this parsha is taking place a year and a month after they left Egypt. Okay. So let's now that we understand what was required and when this happened, let's start analyzing this text. Any questions so far? You know how it works. If you have any questions, please let me know in the chat. I kind of look to the side to read your comments all the time. Is it? Now, let's go to the Midrash. Let's tap into the Midrash, because there is something very interesting. That the Mechilta de Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, remember who Rabbi Shimon was. He is, according to the tradition, the one who wrote the Zohar, the masterpiece of Kabbalah that is studied even to this day. Even though the authorship of the Zohar, there is a debate about it, if it was really Shimon Bar Yochai, it was written later on in Spain. Nevertheless, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a very important figure in Judaism. So this is the Midrash of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It says, Hashem spoke to Moshe in the Sinai desert. And listen to this, because this is very important, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this on Saturday, because this coming Saturday, we have the graduation of Choosing Judaism, also known as conversion to Judaism classes. So we have a group of people that they completed the program, they went to the mikvah, and they are Jews now. They are Jews by choice. And this is part of what I want to tell them. So you have a little bit of a preview, because we can see how there is a connection with the Parsha. Listen to this. The Torah was given to the people of Israel in the ownerless desert. You understand this? The Torah was given to the people of Israel in the ownerless desert. Why? Well, Listen to this. For if it were given in the land of Israel, the residents of the land of Israel will say, it is ours. And if it were given in some other place, the residents of that place will say, it is ours. Therefore, it was given in the wilderness, so that anyone who wishes to acquire it may acquire it. So that's what I said at the beginning, that Mount Sinai and the desert of Sinai are both important in Jewish tradition. The desert of Sinai because it was the place where the Torah was revealed, and for us that has a symbolism, a huge symbolism, that the Torah is not something to be exclusive of one group of people. The Torah is for everybody. The difference, and there are many midrashim, many stories pointing to that, is that the people of Israel at that time was the one who they accepted the Torah without any kind of strings attached. Well, if you do this, if you change that, the people of Israel, they say, whatever you say, God, we're going to accept it, we're going to do it. So this is this is why for us it's so important that the Torah was revealed in the desert of Sinai. And that's why, to me, it's kind of, how can I say this respectfully? Respectfully to the rabbis, by the way. The fact that conversion to Judaism in these times, in this day and age, is so complicated is, to me, is a disservice to the spirit of the Torah. And the fact that God revealed the Torah in the desert of Sinai to make it clear that it's for everybody who would like to embrace Torah. And that was the way at the time where Torah was observed in the land of Israel before the destruction of the temple. Conversion to Judaism, quote unquote, because there was no such a thing. Conversion of Judaism was simply moving to the land of Israel and embracing the lifestyle. And of course, studying Torah. That's all what it was required. Of course, if you were a male, you would have to circumcise yourself. But other than that, there were no classes for a year and lengthy exams and all that thing. It was organic. Joining the Jewish people and embracing Torah was organic. With the destruction of the temple and the beginning of the diasporas, first it was Babylonia, and then were many other, with the destruction of the second temple, it was even further in Babylonia. The rabbis needed to find another way to ritualize the fact that somebody will embrace Torah, and to that first attempts to do that, they became more and more and more and more complicated. And this is something that it's happening in Judaism, that we keep adding things. And I believe it's part of the same thing that we've studied many times before, the principle that in sacred matters we always increase, we never decrease. That's why, on Hanukkah we go for candle 1 to candle 8. And so, and then the rabbis will never remove things, will always keep adding on top of that. And that's why in this day and age is so bureaucratic and sometimes complicated to join the Jewish people. It was not like that in those days. Okay? So, let's continue with this, because I want to show you what now Rashi is saying about the census itself. The census itself. He mentioned, because God's great love for God's people, God counts them all the time. God counted them when they left Egypt. God counted them after they fell in the wake of the sin of the golden calf, to know the number of survivors. And God counted them when God came to manifest God's presence within them. On the 1st of Nisan, the sanctuary was erected, and 1 month later, on the 1st of Iyar, God, counted them again. This is what we are reading in this week's Parsha. So here we come now to the concept of counting within Judaism. And, and this is something that even in the English language makes sense. When when we believe that someone is important, is special, right? To us, and when have you ever heard the expression "Can I count on you?" Right? Or to say somebody, I want you to let you know that you count, right? It's an expression of you're special. So, in the context of the counting mentioned in the Torah, the spirit is exactly the same. It is to let people know how special they are. Unfortunately, sometimes the act of counting, especially in a census and something like this, it creates the illusion that all what matters is the final number. But that's not at all what this is. This is to make people realize that everyone is important, everyone is special. The census is not completed until everyone is counted. And everybody counts one. It's not that one person, because they are, you know, leaders or princes or who knows what, they count double. No, everybody counts one because everybody is equally special to God. But then we make the mistake of believing that it's all about the final number. And this is something that sometimes we have to realize, the concept between numbers and names. And we have the tendency, especially in this generation, to reduce everything to numbers. And I don't know, guys, if you realize that yes, we all have names, but for practical reasons, most of the time we are just numbers. Yes, I have my name, but for the government, the government doesn't care about my name. They care about my social security number, or my passport number, or my license number, or driver license number, or my phone number. Everything is numbers. Everything is numbers. But only if you reflect on the fact that everyone is special in the eyes of God, then we realize that it's not about a number, it's about who we are, and that is represented in our names. We'll see that in the parsha where, for example, we read about the sacrifices that they get present. When the tabernacle was inaugurated, that we have all the leaders of the 12 tribes, and the Torah repeats 12 times the same paragraph, changing the names, of course, with the name of the leaders to make them feel it's not about the numbers of what you brought, it's about who you are, because God knows you by name. And this is something very special that we always have to remember. And Rashi is reminding us of that here, that's why God will count us all the time. It's an act of love. It's an act of love to make us remember how special we are. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Shelley. Now, this is something. Listen to this, and then we'll talk about that. A census expresses two paradoxical truths. On the one hand, it implies that each individual is significant. As I mentioned before, until you count everybody, the census is not over. On the other hand, a head count is the ultimate equalizer. Each member of the community, from the greatest to the lowliest, counts for no less and no more than one. God repeatedly commands Moses to count the Jewish people to emphasize both their individual worth, the fact that no single person contribution is dispensable, as well as their inherent equality. So these are both things that we have to constantly remember the two aspects of our existence. The rabbis will mention it in a beautiful, beautiful way, and that's why I want to share with you this text from Rabbi Simcha Bunim that it will explain beautifully what the Hasidic masters are teaching. Rabbi Simcha will say, everyone must have two pockets with a note in each pocket so that he or she can reach into one or the other depending on the need. When feeling lonely and depressed, discouraged, or disconsolate, one should reach into the right pocket and there find the words, "The world was created for me." The world was created for me. Remember, we always talk about this. Remember the concept, saving a life, saving a soul, meaning saving the world, because from a single soul, Adam, the entire humanity was created. So the world was created for you. And the Talmud will make that very clear. So that should be one pocket. The word of Rabbi Simcha Bunim, your right pocket. But when feeling high and mighty, one should reach into the left pocket and find the words, "I am but dust and ashes." And life goes in between those two. It's all about finding the balance between the two. It's very important to feel special and important and loved, but that also has a limit. Don't, because what happened is sometimes that could create entitlement and many other problems when we can become arrogant. So at that point, you have to remember, but also remember that you are but dust and ashes. We are limited. Eventually, we all going to die. So the life goes in between the two. Hopefully, we can find a balance between discovering our worth and discovering our place in the world and also in God's plan. Any comments? Please let me know in the chat. I would love to take a minute to read your messages as we study this. Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention here, this is just anecdotal, I will say. At the beginning of the Parsha, I want to read about the census. It said that you have to count people from 20 years up, right? Those are the ones who are going to serve in the army. But I wanted to mention that in the Mishnah, there is a text that it will say that we have different stages in our life, and they are attached to different ages. So that every age of our existence, we are expected to do different things. So I want to share with you. It says, I can't remember which rabbi was the one who said that. He used to say, at 5 years old, a person should study the scriptures. At 10, the Mishnah. At 13, the commandments. That's the source for bar mitzvah, by the way. When if you ever wonder bar mitzvah, here, the Mishnah will say 13, the commandments. Bar mitzvah. Mitzvah commandments. 15, go study Talmud. 18, bride chamber. 18, you should get married. That's according to the Mishnah. But it says, at 20, for one's life pursuit. And that's when basically, when you start taking a more active role into in the world, including when we always talk about tikkun olam, repairing the world and all that, that is, according to the Mishnah, you start taking that role seriously when you become 20. At 30, authority. Hopefully, by then, between 20 and 30, you already have a reputation, so people now will start taking you seriously. 40, discernment. At 40, this is so true sometimes. At age 40, you start understanding how the world works. Up to that point, there was lots of dreaming involved. But then at 40, you start really realizing how things work, right? At 50 for counsel, only at 50 you're ready to give counsel. 60, you're a senior. At 70, gray hair. 80, special strength. 90, decrepitude. And at 100, a man is as one who has already died, has ceased from the affairs of this world. It's very interesting. But I wanted to show you this because I've mentioned the age of 20. Uh, Brenda, what do you say here, Brenda? Is it living a righteous life will keep us neutral, not necessarily needing to reach into either pocket. When we stray, we can use the pockets. Yeah, that's the whole idea. Some people don't need the pockets, but some others, and we all know them, they do. Because they are either one side, they believe that they are dust and ashes, and you will know such people depressed all the time, that they feel they have no worth, nothing to contribute. For that person, they have to reach the right pocket and to say, how special you are. And some people, they believe that they own the world. And you wish that sometimes they will reach to the left pocket to remind them that they are finite like everybody else. But that's why the Torah is there, to help us reach that, how you say, Brenda, neutrality or balance. Yeah. So age of 20, this is a very important one. Okay, so let's continue now. I think it's time for us to start studying about Shavuot, because after all, Shavuot starts Sunday night. And I want you guys to be prepared for that special time, because Shavuot is, to me, is the most important festival. Without Shavuot, there will be no Torah, and without Torah, there will be no other festivals. So Shavuot is the most important gift from God to humanity, and yet is one of the most neglected festivals of the year, and probably because we don't realize this truth. The truth that Shavuot is the beginning of everything. It's Torah. Even because, we left Egypt to receive the Torah and then to continue our journey to the promised land. But we have been without a promised land for generations. For generations, for almost, 1,500 years, over until we got Israel back. But even in those days, without a homeland, the Torah was always there with us. That was our portable homeland, giving us advice and comfort everywhere we went. So that's why Shavuot is the most important festival of the Jewish calendar, the beginning of everything. So, Shavuot. This festival is called by the Torah the festival of Shavuot weeks because it comes after the completion of 7 weeks. So it's interesting that the name of the festival is not because of what happens that day. It's not like Pesach. Pesach is because on that specific day, in Egypt, the angel of death, Pasach, it passed over the houses of the Israelites, killing the Egyptians, or that day they had to sacrifice a lamb that is called the Pesach lamb, the Paschal lamb. So something happened there. Shavuot is in commemoration of something that happened before. So Shavuot is also, that's what I like it, because Shavuot is the festival of completion. It's the festival of achievement. It's a festival that we worked towards it. And because we worked for 7 weeks towards that moment, we call it the celebration of the weeks. Chag HaShavuot, the festival of the weeks. And that is something that we have to remember when we celebrate this important festival. Now, the very name Shavuot, which the Torah uses to refer to the holiday, refers to the fact that it represents the culmination of a process of 7 weeks. Remember that it's not something that happened that day, it's for what happened before that day. Now, let's read what Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berdichev said about this. Listen to this. I was asked once while in Lithuania why the festival of Shavuot is also called by the name Atzeret. Did you know that? It's one of the name. This name is not used in the Torah, except when referring to Shmini Atzeret, the last day of Sukkot. But then the rabbis call it Atzeret in the Talmud. We understand that all the festivals have names connected to the event that happened on that day. This is true of all the festivals except Shavuot, which is named for the mitzvah of counting, which has already been completed. We must understand why this festival is named after something that has already happened. And the answer is because it is the conclusion of the mitzvah. This is also the reason for Shavuot, that we make a festival at the conclusion of the mitzvah of counting that God gave to us. For this reason, it's called Atzeret, completion. Now, Shmini Atzeret is called the day at the end of Sukkot, is because it's the completion of Sukkot, and it's a special day. And Shmini Atzeret and Shavuot, they have a lot in common, in the sense that, for example, you will see that they don't have any special observance. Everything that we do in Shmini Atzeret and Shavuot is traditional or rabbinic in origin. It's not coming from the Torah. Like, for example, Shmini Atzeret, if you remember, at the end of Sukkot, what do we do Shmini Atzeret? We have Iskor. That's it. People come Shmini Atzeret to the synagogue because there is Iskor. Shavuot is the same thing. It's Iskor. Of course, then we have we eat dairy products and stuff, but that is all traditional. It's not in the Torah. So Shmini Atzeret and Shavuot, that is also Atzeret, they are connected. Now, Shmini Atzeret is the festival that completes the cycle of a week, the week of Sukkot, of 7. It completes the cycle of 7. Shavuot completes the cycle of 7 times 7. So they are both connected. The other thing that you're going to notice, that is Atzeret, or Shmini Atzeret, does not have a date in the Torah. How do we know when Shmini Atzeret is the day after Sukkot? Same thing is with Shavuot. The Torah doesn't give us a specific date for Shavuot. You have the date of Pesach, and then from there you count 7 weeks, and you know when is Shavuot. So the two are deeply connected. Okay. Now, the Hebrew word Atzeret is generally translated as assembly, but shares a linguistic root with the word Atzor, meaning stop or tarry. Okay. Shirley Chochinov, what do you say here? Let's see. What? Cheesecake is not a Torah commandment? Oi. Yeah, it's not a Torah commandment. It's not even in the Talmud, the cheesecake. It's, yeah. In fact, and this is something that people forget, for the Shavuot dinner at night, for the meal, it's usually a meat meal. The dairy comes during the day, because the meal for Shavuot at night is like any other festival. It's supposed to be like a fancy dinner with meat. But then the dairy comes the next day because we cannot mix the two, right? Yeah. So Atzeret. Let's see what the Nachmanides say about this. And this is also very interesting. Okay? This is what I was telling you, the connection between Atzeret and Shmini Atzeret, Shavuot and Shmini Atzeret. Nachmanides said, God commanded us to observe the festival of Matzot, Passover, for 7 days, with sanctity at the beginning and at the end. And God counted 49 days after it. And God sanctified the 8th day, the day immediately after the 7 weeks. Like the 8th day of the festival of Sukkot, and the intervening counted days are like Chol HaMoed, intermediate days between the first day and the last day of Sukkot. Okay? That 50th day is the day of the giving of the Torah, when God showed them God's great fire, and they heard God's word out of the fire. For this reason, our sages of blessed memory always call Shavuot Atzeret, because it is like the 8th day of Sukkot, which the Torah describes in that way. So this is more connections between Shmini Atzeret and Shavuot. So in other words, all the days of the when we count the Omer every day between Pesach and Shavuot, it is according to Nachmanides like a big long Chol HaMoed, like the days in between of a festival, all the way from Pesach to this point. So that's why we have also a ritual that we count the Omer every day, because it's like the minor festival of the Chol HaMoed, which is, I guess, very interesting as well. Shelley, you said why dairy? Okay, I will explain that in a minute. And if I forget or we don't have time to read that, please remind me before I close the broadcast, just in case I run out of time to show the source of that in the slide that I prepared. But I want to answer that question in this class. Why the tradition of dairy? Okay, so the Talmud reveals yet another distinguishing feature of the holiday of Shavuot. The Mishnah tells us that there are 4 days during the year when God judges the world with regard to various things. And we studied this before. The Mishnah will say that there are 4 Rosh Hashanahs, 4 beginnings of the year for different reasons. Okay? So, although the most famous one is Rosh Hashanah, the one we celebrate in September, when judgment is pronounced in general on everyone in the world, there are certain natural phenomena for which individual days of judgment are designated. On Shavuot, God decrees how much fruit will be produced by the trees during the coming year. Okay? So this is the special things beyond the giving of the Torah. Beyond the giving of the Torah that there is attached to Shavuot. Okay? How much fruit will be produced by the trees during the coming year. Okay? There are 4 times each year that the world is judged, and the Mishnah says, on Shavuot for the fruit of the trees. And so it is kind of, so we already make the connection between Shavuot, Shmini Atzeret, and Sukkot. But also now, there is a connection between Shavuot and the Day of Atonement as well, because we are begging God, we are praying to God for a successful year for the fruit of the trees, because that will be also our source of food. That's very interesting. David Grossman, you say many Ashkenazim have lactose digestion problem. Just saying. Maybe because they never observe Shavuot properly. I don't know why. But we'll see that Shavuot is been tainted from the beginning. And we are going to study that in a minute, but there is a reason why we study all night studying Torah at the beginning of Shavuot, is because we are correcting the mistake of the Jewish people as a whole. Jewish people as a whole at the time of the revelation of the Torah, that they didn't show up to receive the Torah. After all the preparation, after the 49 days preparing themselves to receive the Torah, they didn't show up to the appointment, and Moses had to drag them out of their tents to receive the Torah. So Shavuot, it is already tainted from the beginning, and we do the tikkun. Tikkun means the correction, to try to rectify how we didn't have the greatest of the beginnings when we celebrated the first Shavuot. Just saying. Let's continue. The other thing that we have to remember about Shavuot is this. You shall offer a new offering of 2 loaves to God. Regardless of what I'm going to read here, remember that loaves of bread is all the opposite from matzah. On Pesach, everything was about matzah. No yeast, no chametz. On Shavuot, in theory, we are mature enough to be able to handle the yeast. Because remember, in rabbinic tradition, the yeast means ego. Remember when I mentioned before the two pockets, the right pocket and the left pocket. The right pocket, the world was created for you. The left pocket, you are nothing. You are you are dust and ashes, right? So on Pesach, it's almost like we self-imposed limits to eliminate completely the chametz from our life. We have a total detachment from ego and such energies. But now on Shavuot, after we reflected for a whole 49 days, and we worked on our ethics and our morals, counting the Omer, now the celebration involves bread. Mandatory. Now you cannot go to matzah. Now is the time to celebrate with bread, and this is something that I should know. I should remind you. Okay, that also make it very different Shavuot with Pesach. But now the rabbis take another take because they said you should be offering 2 loaves of bread to God. This is a sign of the day of the giving of the Torah, because the Torah must be new to a person as if he received it from Mount Sinai that very day. The reason that the Torah does not explicitly mention that this is the day of the giving of the Torah, which by the way is something that we also should ask ourselves, how come the Torah doesn't explicitly say that on Shavuot we receive the Torah? It's implicit, it's hidden. We have to read, the 2 loaves of bread and think this is a symbol of the giving of the Torah. But why wouldn't the Torah say, just very clearly, this is the day of the revelation? It doesn't say that. It's in the Talmud, came through us through oral law, but it's not written. So the rabbis explain the reason that the Torah does not explicitly mention this is that this is the day of the giving of the Torah is because God did not want to limit the giving of the Torah to a single day, because a person should feel every single day of the year as if he received the Torah from Mount Sinai on that day. Similarly, the sages have said that the words of Torah should be new to a person every day, not like something old which he can no longer tolerate. The truth is that one does not indeed find something. The truth is that one does indeed find something new in the Torah every day. Believe me, if you study Torah, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. We always keep finding new meanings, new teachings. Therefore, the Torah did not specify the day that it was giving, apart from the hint in the Torah, new, to teach that the Torah is like a new offering every day. And also, this connects what I mentioned at the beginning of the class. Remember? That the Torah was given in the desert, not in a specific place, but in the ownerless desert, as a hint that the Torah is available for everyone. It's not exclusive of one group. It's open for everyone who want to embrace the Torah sincerely. Let's continue with this. Now the Talmud will say, Rabbi Yeshua says that being happy on a festival is also a mitzvah. That is the difference between a festival and Shabbat, for example. The Torah doesn't really specify the mitzvah, the joy aspect. Shabbat is a day of rest. Festivals are a day of joy. Don't forget that. And that's why on Shabbat we are not allowed to cook. On festivals we are allowed to use fire to cook, because that it contributes to make the festival a day of joy. So it's a mitzvah to be joyful on a festival, as it was taught. Rabbi Eliezer said that on a festival a person should either eat or drink or sit and learn Torah. Rabbi Yeshua says he should divide the day, half for eating and drinking and half for sitting in the Beit HaMidrash learning Torah. They both derive their position from the same verse. One verse says, it is atzeret, gathering, ceasing for the Lord your God. And another verse says, it shall be an atzeret for you. Rabbi Eliezer holds that these 2 verses indicates that a festival should be dedicated either all for God or all for you. Rabbi Yeshua holds that you should divide the day, half for God and half for you. Rabbi Eliezer said that everyone agrees that on Shavuot, for you is also required. Why? Because it's the day that the Torah was given. And Rashi will explain a little bit more. We also require for you, because a person rejoices with food and drink to show that the day that Israel received the Torah is pleasing and enjoyable. So that's why Shavuot is such a special festival, and it's a shame that it's so poorly observed around the world. So if you can do anything to enhance your experience, that will be amazing, because how special it is. Now let's go to other thing. I don't wanna even behind. This is the Ten Commandments, right? That reveal on Shavuot. Hold on. What is it here that I wanted to say? Oh, I don't have it here. But let me tell you, we have like something like 4 minutes left, and I wanted to tell you a few things that I believe that we have to understand before we end the class. Number one, the tikkun. We studied all night, and I told you that because there is another hint in the Torah when it says that Moses took them out of their tent to receive the revelation, and the rabbis explained that Moses took them out of the tent and said they fell asleep. They were asleep, they forgot, whatever. Moses had to drag them out. So that's why we are rectifying that, and we get excited about receiving of the Torah. And how do we do that? We don't go to sleep that night, and we study Torah all night. That's why Shaare Zedek this year is partnering with other synagogues around the city, including Etz Chaim, Temple Shalom, Herzliya, to study Torah. We are going to have a tikkun. And the other thing is the whole thing of why we eat dairy products on Shavuot. Where that the tradition of doing that, where it's coming from? Well, there is something very interesting that I learned once, and it's the fact that when the Torah was revealed on this day, many laws was given to the Jewish people. One of those were all the details on how to properly slaughter the animals, and all their rules and regulations about the waiting time between meat and dairy, and it was too complicated, and they have to study, they have to prepare, and until that happened, this is Midrash, they had only dairy and vegetables until they could master all the details just revealed about the meat. And that's why there is a tradition that we eat dairy on Shavuot as a reminder, as a way to symbolize that first day where there was so much confusion about meat, but dairy was an easy solution. So that's one of the things that we do on Shavuot. We eat cheesecakes and other things with dairy. Some people will have a dairy meal for the opening night of Shavuot, but I understand that more traditional people will have a meat meal in the evening, in the eve of Shavuot, and the dairy will come during the day, okay, not at night. But here at Shaare Zedek, we are going to have a dairy meal in the evening, okay? Shelly, what you said here, once upon a time, long before COVID, we came with pillows and blankets and camped out on the floor in the lounge, breaking for morning minyan. Yep, that's what it is. I remember the days when we used to study all night. Now people are not willing to do that. So we study just for maybe 3 hours. And then people either go to other smaller groups that they study all night, or they go to sleep, or they study online. Then you can do exactly like that. You can come to Shaare Zedek for the beginning of the Tikkun, and then you can go home and continue online, or you can go to, I believe Herzliya is doing think of private houses, so people can study all night. Okay, and yeah, and remember also that there is Iskor on Tuesday morning. Also very important. Tuesday morning there is Iskor, the second day of Shavuot. If you're in Israel, there's only one day of Shavuot, so Iskor is on Monday. But in the diaspora, Iskor is on Tuesday morning. If you can come in person, great. If not, you always have the option. The service is going to be streamed. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, and I wish you a Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach, and also reminder that I think we have something like 3 more sessions of Torah L'Chaim before we go into the summer hiatus. So, yeah, this is the time for you to enjoy every last second of Torah L'Chaim, and then we are going to have a hiatus until September. And so I'm going to miss you guys, but we still have something like three more weeks. I haven't counted, but I believe it's something like that in June. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe. Chag Sameach if I don't see you before Shavuot. Shabbat Shalom as well. And hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.